Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Fortune from Tribeca New Music. I'm super excited to be here today with one of the members of the Sirius Quartet, Sunjay, to talk about the upcoming concert on Saturday, June 21st at 7:30 at the DiMenna Center for Classical Music. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're in Germany right now. Do you want to talk a little bit about the quartet, when you joined, and how the experience has been?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. It's been I've watched a lot of Tribeca New Music concerts, so various colleagues playing. So it's a real joy and a pleasure to play on the series. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I joined the group around 2023. I had met uh Function Wei, who was our first violinist, just on a gig, and we got to talking, and we had a lot of similarities in terms of the kinds of music we liked, and we both improvise. And at the time, it's interesting. I didn't really play viola at the time of that he told me that there was like an opening in the quartet, and it was interesting. And he asked actually if I knew any violists who like improvise, and I was actually looking for violists, who'd be interested in auditioning and sharing the sound with the quartet. And at the time, I didn't find any uh people who like were really like super interested in improvising. So I came back to him and told him like, "Hey, sorry, like nobody in my circle, at least, was available or interested." And he asked me like, "Would you be interested in maybe trying yourself?" And I said I didn't play viola. And he was like, "Well, you should try anyway. I know you improvise, and you know
Wow.
maybe if you could get your hands on a viola, that would be you know." Yeah, he was extremely like open, and he took a huge risk, I think, in that time because
Yeah.
I didn't play viola at all.
Yeah. You were playing violin, and even though they are slightly similar in shape and three strings, that is a really difficult change.
Right? Yeah, it took a lot of readjustment, I think, and I spent a lot of time before finally playing like with the group for the first time, or like I'm like auditioning in that sense. And yeah, luckily they enjoyed my sound, and yeah, it's been really amazing playing with everyone. Like they're all like, I think in addition to being amazing players, just watching them and how they write as well, and like how they like carry themselves in like the music scene and whatnot has been really teachable. Like they're all amazing teachers in that sense too. So I feel like I've been learning quite a bit just playing in the group.
Yeah, I feel like one of the continuous arcs that we have in these interviews is that the modern musician sort of has to do everything, be a teacher, be an experimentalist, be a performer. And in your bio for the Sirius Quartet, it says you're pushing conventional vocabulary, and I thought that was really interesting. So you all are conservatory trained musicians that have sort of moved into this open new space. Can you describe sort of that dynamic of having that traditional setting, but then moving it to something else?
Yeah, it's interesting. We Yeah, we're all we all come from the classical tradition in some senses, that that's how we're trained on the instruments that we play. But like addition to that, we all have like musical interests that we grew up with sort of outside of that. So like quick example, Jeremy Harmon, our cellist, he grew up playing in metal bands and like wrote music in that sort of space for a really long time. And you can sort of hear that in his music as well. Uh, Greber Rubner, our second violinist, he played a lot of like Afro-Cuban music in New York when he was coming up in the scene, and all these things that are sort of outside of the conservatory setting sort of find their way into our music as well. And yeah, and I think we sort of appreciate from a technical side of things the fact that we came up in the classical tradition, just because like that's how we find our way around the instrument when we write for ourselves. But yeah, those things are kind of concurrent, I think, in how we think about our music and how we think about our playing, within the quartet.
And I heard that you play oud. How do you say that?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I play oud as well.
So have you
Uh,
been able to incorporate that kind of uh that instrument into your performance with Sirius Quartet or?
not as much actually. I haven't. I thought about it a few times, but maybe, yeah, maybe sometime in the future I'll think about bringing in oud. But yeah, I think just playing other instruments as well really informs the things on the writing side.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned, Jerry grew up playing in metal bands. He plays guitar really well, and Gregor was a jazz pianist for a very long time, so he um plays in that style as well. So although we don't play those instruments within the quartet, I think it really informs the writing, like more overtly than anything else.
Definitely. So your new album, Incantations, is all original works from the members of the quartet. And you have spoken about writing and collaborating. How is it to be a performer, but then also be the composer of those works at the same time?
It's really nice. I really love it. I think because there's not. I mean, of course, there's not so much interpreting to do because we're right here and we know what things are supposed to sound like. But also, I think if in a way, it kind of like I feel like I'm a part of like the tradition of like composer performers. Like I think the idea of those things being separate is kind of new. I think like you know all the composers that we like studied in school, like Bach and like Mozart and whatnot, they all were composer performers in a sense. So it's only like very recently that things were divided in that way. So yeah, I like the fact that I've yeah, I feel much more connected to like writing music when I know that like me or my friends are playing it, rather than like honestly, I'm quite terrible at I have a huge amount of respect for composers who like only write for like other groups because that is quite terrifying to me, I think. But yeah, I enjoy the fact that I have both of those, and like I can embody both of those sides of the artistic process in one, like
Yeah.
especially in group.
So it's easier when it's more personal to you, is what you're saying. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Or even like when even when it's like more collaborative, with like I think I might have the same problem if I'm writing just for myself, but like when it's me and people I know, then I feel a lot easier about composing in that context.
Right. Yeah, and incantations, the description of it is about loss and honoring memory and personal relationships. So this is a lot of really personal stuff that you're working on in this album. What was kind of the catalyst for that decision to center incantations around that?
Well, it happened kind of naturally, I think. Like
Mm,
we were all writing new pieces for the group, and it just so happened that a lot of these new pieces were about people that we'd lost, or either people in our lives, or just people that humanity has lost for either political reasons or environmental reasons. And I think we had a discussion about that, and we like realized that that's what was happening in our newer pieces,
mhm.
and we had the idea to make a record about uh you know centering the fact that these are people who have lost, but we can connect with them through music, and maybe even like communicate with them in like a holistic sense through our new music.
Of course. Are there any techniques that or new things that you hadn't tried before that are in the music for this album?
Um, yeah, I think maybe in comparison to, well, I'm newer to the group, but I played a lot of the past repertoire of the group as well. but a lot of the newer pieces have like really pushed the idea of having a lot more like a lot of different kinds of improvisation within one piece. I think so. Some of these pieces have like within one piece will have like improvisation over changes or chord changes, and then no improvisation over a drone maybe, and then completely free improvisation without parameters of pitch or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I think the looseness between these kinds of improvisation within each piece is a bit different. I think we've been pushing that a little bit more,
Cool.
and yeah, and even just it's I mean not entirely, but like I think it's been a while since the quartet has like written a bunch of pieces around such like a specific theme as
Mhm.
well, and it really helped us to sort of center and hone in our compositions.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So when you are composing, are you using your viola or your violin? Or just, notation software?
Right. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to this is a bit I think another example of the people in the quartet being amazing teachers, even if they're like not trying to be. But um, Gregor Hubner, our second violinist, gave me some advice at one point, and I think it was passed down to him um through his teachers as well. But he always talks about writing away from your instrument, just as a because I think the idea is that if you write with your instrument, then you write things that are just comfortable and like easy to play, and you default to like certain things that are like comfortable to play, like on your on the instrument rather than like a sound that you're hearing in your head. So the idea of writing away from your instrument has helped me a lot because I can sort of hear things that aren't necessarily associated with like string playing. And then of course you check afterwards to see if those things work. And 80% of the time they don't, but the things that do work, I think like they they come from a more personal place than rather than something that's just easy to play.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even think of that, but that's such a simple thing that is really important actually, because you don't want to stay comfortable, right? You want to explore you. So that's a good piece of advice I will take too.
Mhm.
Even though I'm
Yeah.
not a composer, but I would take that.
Well, there's always time, in it.
There is always time. Um, so what's the tour that you're on now, and ha what what pieces have you been playing? Are you enjoying Europe? Tell me about it.
It's been great playing out here in Germany. I've been here since the 26th. It's been an amazing audience every time. We have a great following out here. It's wonderful that everybody goes to so many concerts out here, regardless of whether they know what the music is or not. And we play mostly stuff from the new record. Um, we have a few concerts with some collaborators out here. One with this amazing brass quartet called Tetra Brass. They're based here in Munich, and we usually play in an octet format with them. They actually have an amazing new album coming out called Metal. It's beautiful pieces. And we also play with this harp player named Evelyn Huber, and she's also an improvising harp player. And we play in a quintet format with her. And yeah, it's been amazing. We're here until the 16th. We do some teaching here as well, and it's always a great time.
Is fantastic. Do you feel that there is a sort of difference in the music world? I mean, I'm sure there is, but is there anything specific in Germany or in Europe versus in the US and sort of the landscape of that?
I think, um, yeah, a few things. I think that sort of ethos, what I was talking about, I I feel a lot more out here in that there's more of like a culture of just going to concerts. I
Mhm.
think and like sort of like it's less. I meet so many people all the time out here who have, like, never heard at any music by us, but have, like, gone out to the concert because they heard about it through something, and it's, like, usually a majority of people, honestly, at these concerts that just, like, haven't heard about us, but, like, loved it afterwards,
Mhm.
and that yeah, I feel a lot more so out here, and also there's such a like, an infrastructure, I feel like, for music here in terms of, like, funding for venues and things like that. And, it's great that in the US, especially in New York, you have, like, organizations like Tribeca Music and stuff like support sort of more off the beaten path, groups, such as us. And that definitely exists out here as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there small differences, but, in terms of, like, how people appreciate the music, I think that sort of, like, goes across borders.
Of course. Yeah, I think that it is I I love going to concerts of artists that I don't know because I don't have any expectations, and then I'm always pleasantly surprised. Um, which but I think it can be very hard for people because they know what they like and they don't want to kind of explore, potentially be uncomfortable, but it is really amazing to have that community, um, in Europe, and that's really wonderful to hear that people will just go and have the opportunity to hear something completely new to them that they wouldn't have otherwise. So that's awesome. And of course, in New York, I mean, whenever you go to a Tribeca music concert, I feel like I'm always surprised, but I'm always happy about it. So,
Yeah. And I think even as I was saying that, like, I think because I've been in it for the past few days, like, I've been over here, and, like, I meet people like that all the time. But those people exist everywhere too. The people who are
absolutely.
just willing to try things, and, those are always my favorite, like, people to talk to after the concerts, just to see, like, even if they didn't like it, what their reaction is to what they
Yeah,
heard.
100%. So one thing that we always ask is, do you have any advice for up and coming composers, young composers, or musicians that want to take an alternative path to maybe traditional classical music?
Um, yeah, I'm not trying to cop out of the question or anything, but I always feel slightly unqualified to give advice about this kind of thing. But yeah, I think the only thing that I feel really qualified to say to people who are asking about that is just keep doing it, and just keep trusting whatever, like, instinct that may rub against what know the kind of feedback you're getting from people who are, like, taking a more straight ahead path, and just, keep trusting your inner instinct. Of course, I would say be critical of your own work, but it's kind of impossible for people to not be critical of their own work. I think usually people are quite good at that, but the trust is really the hard part, I think, and just the repetition of just keep doing it. It's not always going to be good, but eventually it'll maybe be something that you're comfortable with, and certainly if you're comfortable with it, it's probably a lot better than you think. And yeah, just keep doing it. That's what I feel qualified to say.
Wonderful. Well, we're so excited to have you on June 21st at 7:30 at the DiMenna Center for Classical Music. And we really are looking forward to hearing Incantations. And thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks so much, Maya. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it.